What's up everyone, welcome to another episode. If you're here considering about getting a new bike and the Winspace SLC5 was a bit on your mind and you've been thinking, could this be a good choice or rather stay away from it? You're at the right place, because I've been riding the SLC5 for quite a while now, together with the Hyper5s, and I'm ready to share my thoughts about it, the things that I love about it, the things that are maybe not so great. Yeah, I would say let's dive right into it. So first of all, let me add a little bit of a disclaimer here. Winspace sent the frame as well as the wheels free of charge. The group set has been sponsored by Mantel, but as you know, I've been riding a lot of bikes and I have a lot of bikes floating around as well. So there's no reason for me to either be super positive on this bike or super negative on this bike. So yeah, trust me that this is all my own opinion. Also, Winspace isn't seeing this video before you. So yeah, I would say now let's dive right into it. All right, this is me real quick from the future with some good news for you, because as Mantel was providing the group set for this build and we have another collaboration coming up, even though this new collaboration didn't start yet, they agreed to reactivate their 5% discount code for you. So if you want to shop something like a group set, for example, at Mantel and you want to get 5% off, use code Klein-5 at checkout. This is going to be a timely limited offer, so I'm going to put the details until when this offer is limited in the description below. And then also, if you want to purchase one of the Winspace frames, you can use code Klein10 to get 10% off. So, but yeah, first watch the full video and yeah, I would say enjoy. Let's get back to it. First of all, let's talk about the weight. I was very surprised, as you might have seen in my weigh-in video, that this thing without pedals came in at 6.63 kilograms, I think. So ridiculously light. I didn't think that this kind of frame with these kind of Aero shapes, also with 50mm deep wheels, would come in yeah, below, or so significantly actually, below 7 kilogram. And even though I've been riding bikes that are below 7 kilograms, I have to say that on this one, you particularly feel the weight or the lack of weight. So when it comes to handling and ride performance, digging right into maybe the most interesting topic, this, I would say, is maybe one of the top 2 bikes that I've ridden so far where you really feel the speed extremely. Like I had some moments on this bike where I'm getting out of the saddle to engage in a little bit of a sprint with the small wattage that I can push. And I was worried that the rear wheel is going to slip away because it is so light. Of course, that never happened, but I think that just should emphasize the aspect of how light and how agile this bike feels when putting power down. So I was really impressed by that, I gotta say. Also, handling wise, I would say it is close from a ride feel to where the Sika Spear is, so kind of like ride characteristics that I really appreciate, because I think I back then said that it feels like it is on rails, like it feels very stable. Also in crosswinds, also with these deep section wheels. Maybe not the most agile steerer, I don't know if you want to say it that way, but also, to be honest, I didn't have this one out in Mallorca, so I didn't do like any crazy hardcore descents, mainly flat rides. But even there, also, especially with crosswinds, you really feel that this thing really goes like it is on rails, and it is fast. Like it feels really fast, as I said, also because of that lack of weight, and also when you really want to go for it and you want to put that power down, yeah, you really feel the speed, and it's very easy to hold the speed. You know, I know that that's one factor that a lot of people like to joke about. It maintains its speed quite well. Yeah, I'm just joking. If you're thinking about if this could be your next bike, I think you can already now go for it, and I think you're going to be very happy about it. But if you want to know a little bit more about it, let's talk about some more aspects of this bike. Paint job wise, I mean, it comes in this beautiful disco kind of glossy paint with a nice reflection. Oh, nice dog came here to take a pee next to me. Very nice. It's a good spot. It's a nice tree. So yeah, that's why we're here. So yeah, here he is. So beautiful paint job with all these reflections. You might know already how much I like these kind of paint jobs, because I think by now I had like 3 other bikes, one that I custom painted in this paint job. So it is a bit pushing it maybe when it comes to like attention grabbing. It looks really nice, especially now when the sun comes out. You really see all those glossy particles everywhere. But when it is dark and when yeah, the sun isn't hitting it directly, it looks like it's a black bike with yeah, with the white decal. So kind of understatement. And then once the sun comes out, bam, there it is. So I think if it fits your character, you might also enjoy this paint job. But there are also some more paint jobs which are even more grasping for attention, I would say, but then also a little bit more toned down in case you want something that's a little bit more on the understatement side. So let's also touch on the price of this frame for a second, because I know Winspace in the beginning, it was known for a brand that is kind of like exceeding in price performance ratio, something that's kind of untouchable in comparison to some of the Western brands. Recently they pushed their prices up a little bit, but I mean, so kind of did everybody else with pretty much anything else as well. But I would now compare this frame maybe to a Sika. I would even compare it to an SL8 right now, even though I've never ridden an SL8, but I can't really think or imagine that from a ride perspective it can get significantly better than that. And still an SL8, especially when you look at like the S-Works version, it is significantly more expensive still. So even though the prices went up for the Winspace frames, I think that price performance ratio, it is still, I would say, in the unbeatable segment, even though I can agree that is on the upper end of maybe exiting that segment slowly, but it still is there because it is really an amazing ride, that frame, together paired especially with those wheels. There's one thing that I kind of have about the frame and about the wheels, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I'll touch on that in a second. But overall, I think if you're considering getting this frame versus something else, this something else would need to be something very, very particular, because I would say on the fun factor, I want to ride this bike factor kind of side, it is really, especially on carbon bikes, I'm only talking about carbon bikes right now, it is in my top 2 of carbon bikes. It is one of the most fun bikes. And I have to be honest, in the beginning, when I got this frame, I thought that this is just going to be like another bike build. I'm going to do another review about it and then I'm going to move on to the next one. But somehow something is really holding on to me when it comes to this frame. And even today, I only came out for a very quick loop here before I started doing this video and doing like the summary of all my rides together. It just put a big smile on my face again. Like, it is really, really a fantastic setup. And I think that hopefully comes across. So if you're considering getting this frame, I think you're not doing anything wrong with it. It is a fantastic bike. It kind of now, even with a slammed stem, it feels very, very comfortable. Of course, it is a stiff bike. It is a stiff frame. It is a full carbon bike. It is having full carbon wheels with carbon spokes. So don't get me wrong, I mean, it's not a titanium frame that's gonna feel like riding a couch. It is an aggressive, racy feeling frame. But like I say, I put some 32mm tires on here with TPU tubes though, so still quite some high pressures. And it is not as harsh as I would have expected it to be. Yeah, so far about the positives about this bike, let's touch on some things that could have been solved better, or that I'm not the biggest fan of. So getting onto the negative points, and there aren't too many, but when I was already assembling the bike, I noticed that there are those quite thick, rubbery, transparent stickers up here on the fork, and I didn't know what they are there for, and I thought maybe they're just for like transportation reasons to protect the fork particularly. But that's not the case. You should actually keep them on, and I noticed that in the box there was another sticker sheet with a couple more, so I think the Winspace really wants you to keep them on there, and if they fall off they want you to replace them, because, let me bring you closer, when you turn in the bars completely, you see that the frame here, particularly this part, is gonna touch your fork. And if you wouldn't have that sticker here, it would kind of push into or damage your fork or your paint a little bit, which is something, of course, that you want to avoid. So this is one thing where I would hope that maybe in future generation, Winspace is gonna find a better solution, maybe already somehow mechanically stop, that you can't actually put it, turn it in so far. Because of course, normally while you're riding, I don't think you'll ever have your handlebar in that position, but if you're transporting the bike and you're putting it into your car, you might end up actually pushing it so far. And yeah, of course, I think the bike would look a little bit nicer without the need of those stickers. This is not a Winspace exclusive problem. I've seen this issue on some other frames as well. I don't know if they solved it mechanically by stopping beforehand, but I think with this kind of like Aero design, you have these like pokey angles in the front, which can dig into your fork. So that's one thing, not a showstopper, but something to be aware of. The other thing is also a small one, but it is there, even though this handlebar is beautiful and it rides fantastic ergonomically. I really, really like it. Also with like the textural print up here in the front to give you a little bit more grip. The thing is more with this upfront mount. It is not a standardized design, so you kind of have to go with the Winspace upfront mount, which is nice, but I'm just thinking if it breaks somehow, or if for some whatever reason you want to replace it with some ultra crazy lightweight one, even though I wouldn't know why, because this is already a very, very lightweight setup, it is going to be difficult to find an alternative as far as I know. So yeah, I would have loved a more standard design for the upfront mount, but to be honest, also not a biggie, because this is nice. It is also printed in the color of the frame, like also with this sparkly paint, so it integrates very, very nicely. But still, also I think something worth knowing before you purchase this frame. And the other downside is actually not with the frame at all. Like, other than that, the frame is freaking fantastic. It is with the wheels, and these are new modern wheels, carbon spokes, hidden nipples. Everything is great. They feel fantastic. They're super, super responsive. But I mean, I now have 32mm tires on here, which for me are kind of like standard now. I mean, 30, 32, that's what I like to ride to add a little bit more comfort. But 32s, I would say, are a little bit too wide for this rim, because the transition between the rim and the tire, you have this little bit of a mushroom geometry here. So I think that with these wheels, you should rather go for 28s or actually 30s. I think with 30s, you would have a way nicer transition. So aerodynamically, it's going to be better. So I would have wished that, seeing where other wheels are going these days with wider and wider inner diameters, and especially in this case, a wider outer diameter, I would have wished for some dimensions which integrate better with a 32mm tire, that you have like a really nice transition between tire and rim. But that's pretty much it. I think that if you're fine with riding 28s or 30s, no brainer. So, would I recommend this bike? Would I recommend this frame? Would I recommend these wheels? Would I recommend this whole setup? Absolutely, I would. Because, as I said, it is so much fun. It is such a great ride. As I said, I want to get out and ride this bike factor is really, really high for me personally on this one. Of course, this is a very subjective fact. And I think if you're looking at this bike in this video now and you're thinking, wow, that kind of looks hot, then it might also have this high, I want to ride this bike factor for you as well. And I think price-performance ratio-wise, fantastic, even with an Ultegra, like not fully Dura-aced out, super high-end everything. I would say this is like upper middle class components everywhere. 6.63 grams. No, 6.63 kilograms. There we go. I think it doesn't really get that much better than that. And I've seen some people asking me in the comments already, is this one better than the Sika? Which one do I prefer? It is hard to say. I think the Sika might still have a little bit of an edge when it comes to unboxing experience. These kind of things are also I'm more on the Sika paint job side of things, even though this one is very, very close. So I think when I would be riding those blindfolded, I wouldn't be able to notice a difference when it comes to ride feel. So I think if you're taking a decision between this one and the Sika, I would just go for aesthetics. Like which bike, as I said, it is all down to this, I want to ride this bike factor. This one might, trigger some people more to get it out than the Sika, or the other way around. So I think it's totally fine to make a choice, on a very subjective visual level on here when it comes to these two frames, because they're both fantastic. None of them is going to be a letdown. They're going to be, they're going to be conversation starters at the coffee stop, I think. So, if other than that you have any particular questions towards this frame, towards the wheels, towards the bike setup altogether, if you want me to compare it to anything else, let me know down in the comments below. I'll try to. As I said, I compare this to an SL8 now, even though I've never ridden an SL8. I'm also not the biggest fan of Specialized, to be honest, for some reason, but that's also just very subjective. Because somehow I like riding like the odd things. I hope that you enjoyed this little episode. If you did, consider hitting that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And with that, I'll say, as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.